Okay, how are you, Spartans 1.0?
I think I'm a Spartan point two, actually.
0.2?
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't know if you guys have experienced this prior to me mentioning it before, but I figured this is something that I wanted to share with you guys. And of course, we'll get into it in the show, and you guys will let me know what you think. But I just decided that this is going to be an episode we had to record because I feel that not many people know about it, and this deserves a second chance. Um, so on this episode, we're covering the ARG called I Love Bees back in 2004. So it's going to be a lot of nostalgic times for us.
Which is a
How
bizarre name.
and I
What?
think it was definitely done on purpose because yeah, we'll get into it, but it was definitely done on purpose.
Well,
Um,
wait, what wasn't a thing back then, but I didn't know anything about this until just recently when you brought it up as a thing. It's like, um, you said, "Oh, we got to do I Love Bees," and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
and it's not usual too because we're all about the movies, the TV shows, the games. This is actually, I guess it is a game, but it's not. I don't think there's even. Well, we'll get into the science behind science fiction section on it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It is technically a game, but I don't really see it as a
Mm.
game.
It,
Compared to what we do now.
it's a riddle wrapped in an enigma concealed in a game promo.
Yep, you can say
Yes.
that.
Yes. Okay. So, should we go jump right into our first segment?
Yep.
Define science fiction remnant.
Okay, and for this episode, I just have to point out, and you guys will find a link in the show notes. Uh, Podboard is a new um, chart system for podcasts. Where at the show, the recording, we're number 80 in there. Um, However, the reason why I want to point it out is the fact that someone from their organization actually listened to, I don't know how many episodes, but they definitely listened to us, and they created a description for us that I really really like, and I'm going to go ahead and read it, and you guys let me know what you think. But I think it's really really cool, and if you guys want to help us climb that chart, you can go to podboard .org, I believe. Well, the link is in the description. You can just click on the link and it'll take you there, and just find our show and just vote for us. However, the description that they have us under is an exploration, pun certainly intended, of the sci fi worlds that abound in the imagination of us readers and watchers and consumers of all things science fiction. This episodes of exploration is not limited in its medium and includes books, movies, graphic novels, shows, and more. What do you guys think about that? That sounds so cool.
They glorify
Well,
us.
what I liked was the untranslated version where it had the really smexy version of the name of the podcast.
Yeah. Uh, when I read it, it's really on point. Because I remember towards the beginning when I used to get that question back, the early episodes on season one, for me to actually describe it, to some new users, and the first thing that came to my mind is like we really don't review uh, the
No.
properties. We talk about it, and you can get a sense, and you definitely get spoilers. But this description is actually one of the best descriptions that I have seen so far.
Yep. I like it.
Awesome.
We sound more elegant.
Woo!
Hey, Robert, before we move on, use your sexy voice and say science fiction remnant in Spanish.
Oh,
Because
yeah, that is kind of interesting because this site translate depending on what what language you read or what country you are. And one of our listeners actually sent us a screenshot where they translated the whole thing and including our name. And I think, I mean, I speak Spanish, but I think it sounds so. I guess it sounds weird, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. I can read the entire thing if you want. Okay, here we go. And I hope I don't. My Spanish is not the best, so let's see. Remanente de ciencia ficción. Una exploración, juego de palabras ciertamente intencionados, de los mundos de la ciencia ficción que abundan en la imaginación de nosotros, lectores, observadores y consumidores de todo lo relacionado con la ciencia ficción. Estos episodios de exploración no están limitados en su medio e incluyen libros, películas, novelas gráficas y espectáculos y más.
nice.
I like how it sounds. I just the name, I'm not used to it. Remanente de ciencia ficción.
He's got the music playing. Oh yeah.
See, that added the ambience and the sexiness.
Okay, you wanna try again? Try again. Here we go.
Put the music on.
Remanente de ciencia ficción.
Wait, you're making me
Ooh, yeah.
wet.
That's what she said.
So yeah, I want to say thank you to Putboard. It's really really cool, the description. Thank you for, you definitely had to listen to our show to actually come
honored.
up with that description because we did not write it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that description, and thank you for adding us to your board. Now, our listeners, come on, help us out. Let's break that 80 mark. Let's climb the charts. And on that note, I just wanted to make sure that at the time of the recording, we are actually number 6 best indie science fiction podcasts in Good Pods and Good
Woo.
Pods. So thank you to Good Pods, and thank you for everybody that has actually played a part into that. We are also number 7. If you take away the indie, we are number 7 best science fiction podcasts in Good Pods. So just want to say thank you so much for everybody that had a part in that.
Thank you.
And I guess we're ready for the next section. We are Science Fiction Remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is sci-fi.
And for all of you who have heard everyone on this promo, every one of those podcasts in that promo is actually part of the This Is Sci-Fi hashtag. So if you want to be part of that, just reach out to us, let us know. But the whole idea, as I explained, is we want to join forces. We want to, if you love sci-fi as much as we do, it's just a medium to join forces and talk about what we really do love. And one example that I can point out is what this week. So there's a lot of communication going on right now, and This Is Sci-Fi, mostly for Open Pike Night and Sudden Bud, about the Strange New Worlds show that is going on right now. And I don't know, I was just curious to see what everybody's favorite captain is. I am not one to answer that question because I have a lot of favorites, but I was still curious. So in This Is Sci-Fi, you'll find a post where I'm asking that question for all the listeners. What is your favorite Star Trek captain, regardless of what ship they are in? And the only reason why I had to do the Google forms to put on that is because I was only allowed to put 4 choices on Twitter, and I think that it wasn't fair to the rest of the captains, especially when I actually have a lot of I have a lot more than 4 favorite captains.
Life is not fair.
Oh yes. So I had to do a Google post, and actually, if you follow our Twitter handle, that post should still be there. And basically, as in the time of the recording, right now, and let me go ahead and pull it up real quick. The winning captain is Janeway with Picard as number 2 and Cisco as number 3. So if your favorite captain is not there, go into that link and do your votes and vote for your favorite captains. But yeah, if you love sci-fi, this is a place to be. There's a lot of us, and you can find, if you love sci-fi, this is where the conversation is at. Also, we do have a Discord channel where we actually talk about sci-fi as well. We are trying to grow it. So there's a lot of conversation up there right now. So if you can go ahead and join, and let's talk about sci-fi, which is what we love.
And I mean,
Um,
I tell all our listeners every time that I meet a new person, I introduce them to the show. I tell them join the channel, join the conversation. Any episode that you have a suggestion or a request, we'll put it on the line too, and you're more than welcome to be invited to. This is just for you are one of us in the conversation to all our listeners. That's why I always tell them.
yeah, yeah.
I'd just like to make a mention that as the listenership is worldwide, so people from all over the world listen to the podcast and then join the Discord, that it's not always active. Like there might be times when there's nobody talking, but that's because not everybody is in the same time zone. So you got to keep that in mind, that you're not going to get an immediate answer to everything. But if you pose a question or you bring up a topic, just be a little patient and give the world time to turn and give people time to respond.
Did somebody complain that we don't answer?
No, but you could help. Like I wouldn't be mad if we have a person per every time zone join our Discord, and we can grow the
Yep.
conversation. So, be my guest, please join.
Yep. I don't
Let's-
sleep, so I'm a god. I'm up every day.
You guys had any interaction with the This Is Sci-Fi hashtag for this week? I don't know if you do. I forgot to ask. I'm sorry, but that seemed to be like overtaking the conversation right now. So,
Not me.
okay, yeah, it seems like this would be. Go ahead.
I've been trying to keep up with it. There's so much going on, and
Oh yeah.
I could spend my entire time just keeping track of that hashtag and all the podcasts that are dropping from it and everything. I hope to get some more time in the future, but yeah, it's a lot of.
You're in the future already, Ray.
Well, the future of the future. Okay.
The future of the future. Damn, man. You see, people never have enough. He's in the future already. He still doesn't give me the lottery numbers.
But it's a future lottery. You can't put numbers in now for a lottery in the future.
Hey, the
I'm
future
like,
is
"Ooh."
malleable. Okay, he can give you the
Yep.
numbers, and they could have changed.
He
Well, all you
hasn't
need to
given
do
me.
is-
He hasn't even given me the wrong number. So
All you need to do, Giancarlo, I keep telling you, this has become a fifth dimensional life form, and then you will experience all of time at the same time.
Yeah,
So you'll be fine.
I want to
will-
also spend all the money at the same time.
but you will know all the lottery numbers at the same time.
That's true. It'll get very confusing.
Never work again. Whoa, that cannot be confusing. I would not know what to spend my money on.
It would get old fast.
Hey, I'd rather be crying with my packs of money, drying my tears on my yacht.
It's our struggles that define us.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into your segment, Giancarlos.
Shout out.
All right. So in this one, we're gonna give a special thank you to the Rocket Sloth, the secret website that revealed Halo 2. I Love Bees Mystery, and I Love Bees and Podboard. First off, Also, I wanted to also thank Adam Yo. His handle is ADS900, and Rosy Rosalita for retweeting our post, participating in our conversation. And last but not least, one of our favorite ones, and we're gonna have him probably soon in the show again, Angelus from Alita Army. Thank you for always being boasting our conversations, participating, picking our brains. That way they don't look like Jello all the time. They get
And I want to mention that he might drop from our number one circle, but like I told him always, he's always in the number one circle to us.
yeah. He's part of the inner circle.
We got to
Awesome.
get him in to
And
do
that'll be all for
Guyver at
now.
some point.
Huh?
Huh?
We got to get him in to do Guyver at some point.
Oh yeah.
Guyver. I need to
Dying to
watch
do-
that.
Yeah, it's
Not
really good.
MacGyver, Guyver.
Guyver.
Yeah.
So
There's a
is
big difference.
MacGyver's
There
son.
is huge.
MacGyver.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. I'll send you a clip later on.
I would like to watch that.
Okay, so we're gonna go jump into the next segment.
The Outer Remnant.
And for the Outer Remnant, I want to mention I was actually recently a guest on Alita Army's Indian Creek live stream. It's the Alita live stream. It was actually for the 20th of May, where we talked about what the Alita Army wants from basically a sequel, or it could be a movie, could be a TV show. And I gave my opinions there. So if you want to hear what I had to say, go ahead and pick it up. It's in it's in YouTube currently. So you just look up the Alita Army and you can find that live stream.
It's on Muskogee Creek's channel.
Okay.
So if you look up Muskogee Creek, that's where that one. The live streams are all converted into videos, so you can go back and through it and listen to that one.
Awesome. And okay, so you have I don't know if Giancarlo, you don't have any place that you have been lately, but
No, I was gonna be with Jolene. It goes down to the PM, but I couldn't make it.
okay,
So I'm gonna be watching for the next one.
awesome. And we could still do that one at a later time. And Ray, you
I'm on my usual. So on the Alita Army channel on YouTube is the Radio Chaos live stream. Saturdays, it's 5 p.m. Eastern at the moment, but it moves around a little bit when daylight savings starts and ends and stuff like that. But at the moment, it's 5 p.m. Eastern for the US summer. It's been a hot minute since we recorded one of these podcasts. So a couple of weeks have gone by. That live stream never rests. So we've had a few topics come through, but the one that I wanted to mention was not the most recent one, which was yesterday, but a week ago we actually had Elle Lamotte, who played Screwhead in Alita Battle Angel the movie. She came on with us, and she's lovely. We had so much fun with her talking about the movie industry and her time on set and what she had to do. It was a bit disappointing that she didn't have any lines in the movie because she's lovely to talk to, and she was good fun. She's part of the Alita Army. She's a devout believer in pushing for the sequel, and we're hoping to have her back on. But yeah, we had a great time, and everyone should check that one out. I think it was 115, episode 115. So go to YouTube, look up hashtag Alita Army. And go to the channel and subscribe if you haven't. That would be great. And that's probably quite a number of podcasts ago by the time this one drops. But check that one out. It was great fun.
awesome. Okay, so is the Spartans 1.0 ready?
Point 2 here. Point 2.
I just gonna be
I got a
stalking
long
people
way
on
to
their charter. I'm gonna be stalking people in the charter box.
You're gonna be ghosting people on their chatter.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something Jan would do for sure.
they call me Cortano.
Cortano.
In case you haven't listened to I Love Bees, because Robert did us a solid and combined all the little snippets, because it was actually, when it was released, it was a whole bunch of little audio snippets, and they actually had to work out the order to put them
Yes.
in to make a story, which was complicated. But Robert did us a solid and combined them all into one single MP3, which is nearly 6 hours long. So it's a significant story. But
Man, you
yeah,
don't know the brain fire I got every time that I hear the rewind sound. I was like, oh, no,
Yeah.
again.
Well, let me tell you a little thing about it. The fact is on the website, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But it was actually worse than that, because uh, through the ARG, the actual game, you had people, they had to go to certain GPS locations, and until that mission when that mission gets completed, is when they released an audio clip, and that audio clip was never in order. So you listen to it, and you're like, what the heck am I listening to? What the heck is
Yep.
this? It doesn't make any sense. It's only when the entire thing, you know, was done with all the files, which is still was confusing. It took someone rearranging the files, reorganizing, to actually make this whole story complete. And if you realize, and I don't know if you noticed, Giancarlos and Ray, even when I put it together, you'll notice that there's some um, inconsistencies on the
Yeah.
order.
I would start hearing something that I was hearing an hour before, and the continuation was an hour later.
Exactly.
So listeners need to listen to this. It is fantastic. The story quality and the Foley, and if you don't know what Foley is, that's the sound effects. They're brilliant, and the voice acting is brilliant. I mean, and I hadn't heard it until a couple of weeks ago. I was blown away by how good it was. And like, I was recommending it to my close friends. I'm like, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this. It's amazing. And yeah, but I totally missed it back in 2004. I remember standing in line at midnight waiting for Halo 2 to drop. And I was standing in line at my local EB waiting for them to open the doors and let us in to buy Halo 2 for Xbox. I think it was Xbox One at the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the very first one.
yeah. Yeah, I was there, but I knew nothing about I Love Bees. I'd never heard of it until you brought it up, Robert. So thank you for doing that. It's well worth the time spent listening.
No problem. I really want people to know about this, especially if you're a gamer, especially if you love Halo. It was a personal experience to me, and how I got involved into it is when I was playing. I was playing multiple times Halo Combat Evolve, and they were announcing. I finished it so many times. That game. If you ever play that game, you can't just play one time. You have to finish it.
No.
Over and over and over.
I had the entire thing memorized. I knew exactly where to. I have one of those brains that just memorizes patterns and where to go to do things in games. And I played that game enough that I had the entire thing memorized. And a friend of mine came over one night and said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "I got Halo there. Have you ever played?" He goes, "Nah." I said, "Okay, I'll take you through it." And he's like, "You'll take me through it?" I go, "Yeah, I've got the whole thing memorized." He's like, "Bullshit." So I sat him down there. And it took us about 5 hours. So we started late. It was like 11 p.m. and he's falling asleep at like 4. And I'm like, "Come on, we're nearly there. We've got to go over here. We've got to grab the tank. We drive it up here. We shoot this. We go back. We shoot this other thing. We drop the tank off. We come back up here. We jump over here. We do this. And he's like, "How the hell do you remember this stuff?" I was like, "I've never lost a car in a car park, ever." I just remember this stuff. I don't know why.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was really funny.
So I remember I was really excited when they announced Halo 2 was coming out. I know some people saw the commercial on the movie theaters. I think I got to see it once in the movie theater. However, where I actually caught that commercial was actually on TV. I can't remember what I was watching, but it was really strange to me because I watched the trailer for Halo 2, and I was really excited, because I'm dying to buy this game. I want to play it. And at the end, you know how you have the Xbox sign, and below it says, www.xbox.com, and it flickered to something and went back to xbox.com. And I was like, well, what was that? Now this is 2004. Um, at the
Easter
time,
eggs.
I did not have, it's not like a recorder. I don't think there was even YouTube that you can actually look it up. Um, so there's no recording, so I couldn't go back and rewind. So I was like, okay, that's gonna bug me. Something flickered. That was odd. It looked almost like a glitch. So the next time
Static
that
glitch.
I'm sorry.
Static glitch. Like
Yeah.
shh, and then come back.
So the next time that I saw that, I was actually watching for the ad. It was the first time in my life that I'm actually just watching TV, expecting to see an ad. And when the ad came back a second time, I was just like glued to the lower part of the TV just to make sure. And I was like, hold on a second, that was a website. It says ilovebees.com at the time. I mean, that website no longer exists. Um, Someone actually copied the website, and I have the link on the show descriptions if you want to go see it for yourself. Which we really thank that person for doing that because nostalgic reasons. But I went into that website and I was so confused because it was an Xbox Halo 2 commercial, and I looked at this website. It's all about bees and beekeeping, and it looked kind of weird. It looked really weird, and I was
It was
looking at this like
glitched.
I was thinking, is it possible that the ad got hacked? But then again, it's like, no, this is a Microsoft. It couldn't, But I remember thinking that maybe something happened that the ad went out, and since it was like so fast, it flickered too fast, and people maybe didn't caught it. But then I was like, you know what? No, this is not possible. This is done intentionally. So I just wanted to give you the little before we go into the descriptions, and I might go and stop you as you go through the plot or the
Mhm.
description of the whole thing to kind of give you my first experiences because I actually experienced this. I love B. Let me call it revolution. It was the first thing that of that kind that I ever experienced. I don't think there's that many things after. I mean, there's a couple, but nothing to that level where the social interaction was incredible. But I always felt like a secondhand citizen because um, m- just when I
W-
discover something, I go online and someone else already discovered it.
Long time ago.
So yeah, but
Quack, quack,
s-
quack, quack.
but I still felt part of and I wasn't alone because I remember there's some I had some friends that played Halo that were also um, uh, aware of what was going on, and they felt the same thing too. They're like, well, if you think about it, this whole thing, and we're going to get into it in more detail. It was a worldwide event, so I didn't feel bad that by the time I got to it, someone already discovered it because there's a lot of people involved in this whole thing. So I still felt as being part of that community, a former beekeeper.
Maybe I should just do a little bit of contexting before we go on because you're sort of getting into the nitty gritty, but we haven't really explained what the two parts of this are. So there's two distinct parts. There's the story, which is 5.5, nearly 6 hours long, which you listen to, and it gives you a backdrop of what's happening just before the Halo 2 game from the perspective of people living on Earth and have come from various colonies at the time. So that is the story. Now the event I Love Bees has actually got to do with a website and what's called an ARG. And what does the A stand for again?
Uh,
Crap.
I I I I have it.
Alternate reality game.
There you go.
So basically, what they're saying is that Halo, the Halo universe is actually our universe, and it is in our future. And in part of the story, one of the AI's consciousness gets split and ends up being thrown back onto the server, which is hosting the I Love Bees website.
I can
So,
explain a little bit on that also because I know I had to kind of write it down because I know Giancarlo was a little confused when we were talking previously.
mhm.
But you have the AI that the AI was actually part of. The what was the name of that? It was a military vessel called the Apocalypso, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
And they all, if if you're a Halo fan, you know that all those military vessels, they actually have an AI to help out with the control. This AI was actually the AI for Apocalypso. So they were actually, they encounter a Covenant artifact, if I'm not mistaken.
It wasn't a Covenant artifact. They thought it was a Covenant artifact, but it was actually a Forerunner artifact.
Exactly. So the Forerunner artifact somehow got one of the crew members to to interact with it, and it caused a kind of
He
like,
activated it.
yeah. So if you look at, it's very similar to what you would see when, if you look at the Halo show, whenever Master Chief or Maquis touches that artifact, that simulator, it's not technically, it's not an explosion, but everybody gets knocked off their feet.
Yeah.
So this is at a ship wide level. It caused an explosion. It actually divided the let me try to explain this. It divided the AI into three separate entities. So there was what it was called the Seeker, which we'll find out later on that another part of the AI called it the Flea was actually corrupting um, the AI. So when the AI separated, it got attached to what they call Melissa, or it's also the operator, because she was that military part of the AI. You know, that very like by the
Well,
book.
well, that the AI was not just a ship AI. It was also trained to be a subterfuge AI. The ship was designed to be a forward scout and to sort of sneak behind the lines and try and work out what the Covenant was doing. So it wasn't just your standard military AI. It was also like 007 as
Yeah,
well.
it was it was
It was
definitely Oni.
complex. It
Yeah,
was
it was.
complex.
Yeah, it was from Oni, so you know that he had like the high, the top quality everything. So basically, what it is when the AI got split, it got split into the operator and it got split into the princess. The seeker was corrupting Melissa. So when that explosion happened, it took the operator and the sleeping princess, which is the two separate portions of the AI. The sleeping princess was the pure, the nice, and the operator was just all logical and war and very by the book. Um, and the seeker got pushed back 500 years into the past, and they landed in a server for a website called I Love Bees. So that's basically where the whole story starts, where we have a portion of the AI that got kicked back into Earth, and can't remember the year, but it was like 2,500 and something, which was later, we later know her as Durga, which is another part
Durga.
of the AI. And then we have two other parts of the AI, plus the seeker, the virus, and the SPDR, which is a system Perl distributed reflex, is actually a system that all AIs have in case they get corrupted, so they can fix it. And they call it the spider because of when you put all those letters together, you have SPDR, which is kind of like a spider. So I just wanted to set the players. So because I know even my wife was a little confused. So you have the operator, the spider, the sleeping princess, and the seeker in 2004, while you have Durga in 2,500 and something.
Now
Stuff.
I have a question because I thought that programs were supposed to expire after 6 7 years. They will go crazy. Wasn't that the
Well,
case?
there's a little bit more detail to that. So basically, they can't create an AI from scratch. What they have to do is copy an intelligence from a person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of the plot of the story in 2500 and blah, blah, blah. But one of the guys who's in the story, Kamal, his sister died of a strange degenerative disease where all her systems shut down. But in the process, in the progression of the story, he discovers, because he's a med student, he discovers that this is an illness in inverted commas that only happens to flash clones, people who've been force grown. And he works out that his sister had been taken away secretly and been replaced with a flash clone. It was the flash clone that died. So he discovered that his sister was somewhere else. And what happened to her was that she was taken away to become she was basically drafted without anybody's permission into the Spartan program.
Yeah, Oni kept a close eye on all the schools to see who exhibits the requirements that they need for that program, and then it was all about Catherine Halsey to go and send people to pick that kid up and replace them with a flash clone. I don't think Kamal knew about Jasmine, which is the name of her sister, until the very end of this story. Which is, I have to say, that was a really heart wrenching moment when I listened to it for the first time. I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing that I did, but well, then again, everything affects me. So, oh, and I got the year. It's 2552.
I was thinking for some reason that the programs were bound to go crazy after some time. So that's
Yeah.
what gave me like it makes sense what Cortana did on Halo 3.
Well, think about it. If you have a copy of a person, made into an AI, there, and I think we talked about this in previous episodes. There's a limitation. Not only, I think, is mostly as we humans go through life, and we talked about this when we were talking about living forever. There's a limitation on this on the memories that we can keep.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why there was an episode in Doctor Who with I can't remember the name of the character, but she had an entire library filled of journals, because she keeps some in that particular world. Like, she keeps on forgetting after a certain time passes, and she didn't want to forget, so she started writing a journal, and she was immortal. Um, I kind of see that. I mean, there's a limitation on a human brain, so it's definitely a limitation on a computer AI. So unless you have this AI attached to a huge computer, and eventually you have to keep on adding storage to it.
Yes.
So how much storage is, you know what I mean?
I
How
I
much is
have
too much?
I have an observation there because I watched this movie with Ken Reeves where his family dies and he kind of clones them.
Hmm.
But basically, what it shows when you try to transfer a human-like consciousness into a machine body, there's many biological and psychological aspects that will not translate, and that's where the difference happens. So we're trying to put machines like they're us, and they're not us. They work differently. Their mechanics and their organisms are different. So that's where the translation gets lost, and that's what we think that machines are gonna take over us because they're more logical. They're not emotional. Uh, like in this movie, for example, they try to put himself while he was alive on a machine, and he had a psychotic break on the machine because his reptilian brain, basically all those functions that you're not gonna have in a machine, like heart beating, your organs that you don't control consciously, all those things stop working. So your brain goes cuckoo because it's trying to wire down to those parts
Where's the
like
heart?
it's a
Where's the heart?
biological body.
I can't find the heart.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need to pee.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not just that. I mean, it's the way a biological intelligence functions in that there's there's the connections level, the higher brain functions,
Mhm.
the thinking, the rationalizations, and then there's all the sub levels, and there's the hormonal level as well. Which how do you replicate hormones in a machine? You can't really. I mean, just remember the last time that you were really shocked or really frightened, and the adrenaline that just floods through you. I remember one time I was training martial arts with a friend of mine in his garage dojo, and we were doing mixed martial arts, and we had the boxing gloves on, and I missed his right hook. I didn't see it coming, and he clobbered me right in the temple and knocked me on my ass. And I leapt up again. I like the adrenaline threw me back up to my feet. I leapt up again, and then I went, whoa, and nearly fell over again. And the flood of endorphins, I felt it. It just went bam. And I was like, oh, God, this is good. Hit me again.
Whoa, Melissa.
But, how do you replicate all that in a machine? All
Yeah.
that feeling, that stuff, and how it affects your thinking, and humans are really freaking complicated, and making a digital version of a person to function the way people function, and all the bits that you can't understand why they happen, and you don't know why you're feeling this way, and all that sort of stuff. How do you replicate that?
Yeah. So, so basically, just to clarify here, we have the queen and the princess is stuck in the servers for I Love Bees in 2004. The spider is trying to fix the queen because that's its function. It's an executable file, basically, that all it does, it doesn't even have, it's not sentient. All it does is, I know you're broken, I'm fixing you. Now, the seeker convinced the queen that the spider was the actual virus. So the queen, the queen shut the spider down because it's a function. It's a program, on off. That's it. And so she got, the seeker got free range of Melissa is trying to rewrite her code. It's a covenant virus. The sleeping princess knew about this and tried to stop her, and basically she got imprisoned in some sort of cage, digital cage, if you may, and so the seeker had complete control. Now, occasionally she would escape, and that's when we get all those updates into the I Love Bees website. Whenever she escaped, she would put something. She would be the one asking for help. Um, and Melissa would be the one that is like the protective, kind of like Durga with Jersey.
Can I just interrupt there for a second? So how this presented was that the I Love Bees website was glitching, and you could see bits of source code and things like that in some of the pages, and SPDR was part of that. And all of this was worked out by what the people who became known as the beekeepers. So they were all the people involved in the ARG, trying to work out what the hell was going on.
Yeah, I remember there's like, which seems. I mean, I think about it now in retrospect, and it was a lot of work. So I am really glad there were so many people involved in this thing, but it's like clever. Like some of the code was encrypted inside. I remember inside images. I remember one time, I can't remember which of the images is. And I invite every one of you to go to the website. There's a link in the description so you can see what I'm talking about. But there's images that I can't remember which image I downloaded. And when you download it, it was confusing because one looks bad and you download it and it looks good when you open it up on your computer. And then there's other ones that I would open and they look not the same, but not good. So you still see that they're kind of broken. So for some reason, I changed the extension of the image. There were JPEGs, JPEG, and replace that with text and open it up as a text format. You get a bunch of, if you don't know about code, you probably get a bunch of googly goo in there. But I remember there was some, and some of them had some code, some piece of letter, some piece of that doesn't belong there. You can actually tell. And I removed it, saved it back as a JPEG, and the image was fine. Now, at the time, I did not know, and that code combined with other code was giving a clue. And the reason why it was so mind-boggling to me is there was a list of links to other websites, and the whole community, and if you watch the video, they explain it really well. I'm sure I'm not explaining it as good as the video did. I'm just basically going back from my memory. But basically what they did is they went through all those websites and see what sentences were the same. You imagine that? The amount of
Mm.
work. And then once they found the sentences that were the same, they compiled those and the message was revealed. That is something that I would not even try or attempt to do.
But there was another level as well. There was random emails being sent out. The original group of people who contacted the admin for the site about the problems that were occurring on the website and what they thought it might mean. There was somebody who was playing the woman who was the admin of the site,
Dana.
and she was like getting emotional, and she left for a while and came back. But the email system that she was using emailed out to all these people who had contacted her what looked like random gibberish, but it was actually more code.
I got a
that they had to
sample.
work out.
I got a sample of that email from the video. If you want, I can read a couple of paragraphs if you want me to.
Go on. It's really interesting.
This one, and there's tons of emails. I mean, I have all the emails, but I figured the one from the video, it makes a little bit more sense. But they're just as wacky as this one. So this email got sent out to everyone that ever sent an email to Dana, the Hotmail account. Yeah, Hotmail. They actually, everyone that ever emailed got the
I
same
have a Hotmail.
emails. Yeah, there you go. So this one happened to be sent on July 20th, 2004. And is from Lady B777, which is the Hotmail email. And the email reads, "Keep me, odd behavior, cry for help. I'm using in some sort of message, have ever put together some of the message. Just wanted to say that I'm not odd behavior and I danger of voodoo, witch that runs smears into the web, the forte, including the any enemies. I am sorry. Just wanted to say, I am not much of an expert, but I wanted to find out more about ordering some of the messages, the forte. I cannot see the forte. Please, problem quite interesting. No idea who I'm part of. Have an enemy. Voodoo parent, voodoo witch that runs into the web. Voodoo parent wanted to cover my together a home, the forte of voodoo parent. Of you imagine receiving an email like this?
Mm. But the interesting thing is, apparently, all of those sections of text occurred in the emails that were sent to Dana. All of them. They were snippets from all different emails, and they were rearranged to say other things.
That is very interesting. Can you imagine how many emails they got? And I'm sure they probably use a program to parse through the text. But I still find it very fascinating.
It sounds to me like emails from Prince of Nigeria.
There's nothing about 10 million in gold or anything. So.
They're just weird, right? Like those repeating sentences that are nonsense.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that I mean, a lot of work was put into this. I mean, that they were writing this game and doing the advertising for it, and then this Bright Spark came up with this idea, and they must have put so many hours into this on top of the game to draw these people in. And it was one of those things that, like, that mystery, that thing, you want to solve that mystery and you want to be part of this. And people all around the world got stuck into this. And it went on for months before the game dropped.
And it's kind of sad that many people wanted to be involved in the part of finding the public phones. In some countries, I think Canada was one of those. They couldn't. I guess the 42 Entertainment, which is the company who created this game, they could not call out for some sort of reason. I think it might be a law or something. So those people got they couldn't actually call. Let me put it this way: 42 Entertainment could not set one of those GPS locations in those places because they couldn't call those cell
To
phones.
the public phone.
Yeah, the public phone. So, but that's one of the cool things about it is the social interaction, where in the site, y- after all the clues were put together, there were some missions where you had to go to each one of those GPS locations. So we have people that were converting, because remember, we take GPS locations for granted today
Yeah.
because we have it in every phone. But if you think about in 2004, those devices were expensive. So you have
Mm.
people online that happen to have a GPS, and their sole job in as part of the beekeepers was to, whenever those GPS locations get published, they were actually transferred to an actual address so the other people, the other beekeepers, can actually go to those places. I I never went, and I don't know if it was because maybe I was afraid of what I was going to find. Um, but I know some
Stranger
friends.
danger. Stranger danger.
Yeah, back in 2004, yeah. But I know friends that have actually gone. It's like, dude, you have to go. It's kind of cool. You have a group of people just on a single cell phone. It's kind of funny if you think about it. And now most people that probably listen to this podcast have not even experienced this, because there's no public phones anymore. I
Anymore?
don't.
No, not really. There's like
They,
relics that are laying around on the streets.
we still have a few of them in Australia, but they're nowhere near as common as they used to be.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are not also as used because everybody now has access to a phone. Phone services are more accessible than before. Before it was more like a hot commodity and a luxury, but right now, today, it's just like a necessity. Like everybody has to have a cell phone. People actually don't have house phones anymore. That's a rarity to see now.
But
yeah,
I don't know how
they're
it's in
not even
Australia.
well, they're not even cell phones, they're smartphones. And even, kids, well, we only have two lots of school. We have primary school and high school. So high school is from years 7 to 12, whereas you guys have three, don't you? You have middle school
yeah. Middle
as
school.
well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we don't have the middle school part. We just combine from 7 to 12 all into the one school, which it can
That's
be
what we do in
problematic with those ages. But anyway,
I'll tell
that's
you,
how they
like
do it
that's
down
what
here.
happened in Dominican Republic too, in Latin America, most of the places. Like it's just elementary, and then middle school is mixed with the last portion until 12th grade. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. That's how I study.
Yeah.
So I can
So,
relate.
but even kids at the top of elementary, we call it public school here, but at the top of elementary have mobile phones, they have smartphones, and you see them all. They're like walking along like this, texting their friends, or using WhatsApp is the big one down here
Yeah.
that they use, and they're just data. They don't even make calls on them. So.
Wow.
Yeah, nowadays nobody even wants to make calls. That you want to text everything.
You call someone, it's like, well, what's the problem? Something wrong?
Yeah, but
No,
they
I just
actually
want to
they don't
talk.
answer. They just text you back. What's up?
Nobody answers calls. They just text you back. You wanted something?
Yeah, it's just like that. And I'm like, hey man, I don't want to write that you're a moron. I want to tell it to you.
So it was kind of interesting. You have all these people, they go into the cell phones, and you can't just go. It has to be, every GPS location had an actual time and date and time that you had to be there. So when you were there at that specific time, that public phone will ring and someone will pick it up. And it's kind of funny. I think I heard some where they were picked up by the wrong person. They didn't know what was going on. That was kind of funny. But for the most part, the beekeepers were on top of that. So they would pick up the phone, and they have missions. So that, they would tell them, you do this or you do that. And if those missions were accomplished, there's multiple missions per section. Once all those missions were completed, then we get rewarded with an audio file. And this is the audio file that I compiled for you guys. That is like almost 6 hours long.
And as you said, they were randomized. So eventually, when they got enough of them together, people had to sit down and work out the story by rearranging them until it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this was a huge undertaking with thousands of people across the world to advertise a console title.
It is clever.
A radio
advertising.
novel of a console title.
It is kooky.
Not about the console title, really.
But to be honest, I want something since the beginning, since 2004, when this all was said and done. I always wondered and wanted someone to do a movie, an animated series, a TV show, anything based on this,
Thank you,
because I
Paramount.
love the story so much, and no one has ever done anything. And it was at the time it was not Halo canon, but I think 3 years later, Bungie actually declared it Halo canon. So what happens in this story is actually canon to Halo, to the point of like if you actually play, which I showed my wife last night because she was kind of curious. I have Halo Infinite for my Xbox X, and if you play there's a trailer for the multiplayer version. Um, if you watch that lady, um, at the beginning of the trailer, she's holding a bee necklace, and she later on that trailer becomes, because at this time, and again, I'm gonna give you spoilers because that's what we do. In Halo Infinite, because Master Chief was supposedly
Mm-hmm.
dead, they had to create another Spartan program, maybe not necessarily as good as the Spartan 2.0s, but they had no other choice because they were overrun by the Covenant. So this lady became a Spartan, and on her, um I don't know if it was a Mjolnir suit. It might not be, because a human could die by using this. Probably a modified version of that suit had an imprint of a bee in there. If you play the games since Halo 2, you will actually find little bits of Easter eggs from I Love Bees encrusted into this game. I don't know if you guys noticed
Before, no, I hadn't seen it. But before we go too much further, I probably should go through the plot just so people know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Just in case they haven't listened to it. But I highly recommend listening to it. As I mentioned earlier, the Foley work is amazing. The sound effects just draw you right in, and the voice acting is fantastic. The story is fantastic. I was riveted for the 6 hours, because
And I
in the
just gotta
beginning there's
mention.
multiple. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Before you continue, I just want to mention, because you said for them to, if they want to listen to it, and I want to make it easy for you guys on the allowbees.com website, that I have posted on, actually .co that I posted on our show notes. If you go to that website and you click on mission logs, you will actually will be greeted with a page that has, it would say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and someone has already kind of organized them for you, kind of. uh, just be warned that they're not necessarily all in perfect order, but if you reach out to me, I might be able to get you the compiled version, so you can just listen to one. But I just want to give you some options, and just know that 42 Entertainment actually encouraged sharing the files back then. So that's the reason why this person was able to copy the website. So I'm sorry. I just want to point out, I want to give our listeners a way to listen to the I Love Bees drama. So continue. I'm sorry.
Oh no, sure. They we probably should have put that at the beginning and told them to go listen to it and then come back and listen to us, because spoil. But anyway, yeah, put that in the show notes. Say before you listen to this, go to this site and get the audio, because yeah, it is really worth listening to, and it's one of those stories like William Gibson writes. You know, the guy who did Neuromancer and all those cyberpunk stories. You know of him? He likes to write three streams, and then at the end of the novel they combine, and you're sort of as you well, in this case listen, but when you're reading a story, you get a chapter from one stream, and then a chapter from the next stream, and then a chapter from the next stream. And even if you're not very interested in what's happening in two of them, there's usually one of them that you're really interested in, but you've got to keep reading the other ones to get to the next one, and it drags you along in the story. So even if some of the characters aren't that interesting to you, you know that they're going to be involved later on in the ones that you are interested in, so you keep listening or watch or reading if it's a novel. But it's a way of creating a bit of mystery in how are these storylines going to interact and how are these characters going to come together, and also pulling people through a story that they may not be interested in all three of the narration lines, but there's enough there to keep them going. And then once it all combines together, that's the sort of brilliant part. And they go, oh, okay, that's how all these people come together. Right. Now I understand. And because if you were only watching or reading or listening to one stream, you wouldn't know where these other people came from and what their involvement was. So it sort of makes you watch all three and interact with all three and understand all three, so that when it combines, you're on top of it all. You're not going like, okay, so where did they come from? I don't get this. But it must have been so confusing for the poor bastards were getting these snippets and trying to organize them. And they didn't know what the story was about. They didn't have like an outline to plug it all into. And they had to work, okay, so there's these guys and there's these guys and there's these. This is like three different streams. and how where did they come? Oh my God. And what's the order? I feel sorry for them, but they did a fantastic job, the beekeepers, to put this all together and work it all out. But I mean, it's the gamer mentality that this is a mystery. I've got to solve it. I've got to work this out. That's why those escape rooms are so popular. You got to work this out. You got to find the way, kind of thing, and it really motivates people to get interested. But I should go through the plot, as I was attempting to do 5 minutes ago. This often happens to us. So the plot of I Love Bees. Obviously, I Love Bees is the name of the website in 2004. It actually has very little to do with this story, except for one point at the end where they say, oh, part of the AI ended up on this website called I Love Bees. And then you go, oh, that's the connection. So anyway, it says the game's plot, but it's the story that's connected to the game. Begins with a military spaceship crashing to Earth in an unknown location, leaving the craft's controlling artificial intelligence or AI damaged. This AI, known as the operator or Melissa, is not alone. Other AI programs share its system. In an effort to survive and contact any surviving allies, Melissa transfers herself to a San Francisco area web server, which happens to host a bee enthusiast website known as I Love Bees. And is in 2005, 06, 08 in the Wayback Machine, if you want to look it up. But if you go to the wiki, there's a link to the .co version, which is a copy of it. To the distress of Dana Albury, the website's maintainer, Melissa attempts to send signals. Began to appear largely as code hidden in images and text, interfering with the operation of the I Love Bees site and corrupting much of its content. Dana, attempting to regain control over the corrupted website, accidentally erases data which comprises parts of Melissa's memory. Furious, Melissa lashes out at the webmaster, obtaining pictures of her using a webcam on her computer and promising to take revenge. Alarmed, Dana announces that she's removing herself from the situation and is taking a previously planned trip to China earlier than expected. So this is actually the plot of the ARG, not the story, sorry. All AI units contain a program called SPIDER, short for System Peril Distribution Reflex. As SPDR attempts to fix Melissa, random dumps from Melissa's memory begin to spill into the website, largely detailing Melissa's history and revealing the presence of a malicious Trojan horse-like virus known as the Pious Flea. The spider tries to erase the flea but is outwitted, and Melissa erases the spider instead of the flea. The flea continues to overwrite Melissa's programming with its own mysterious goals, with it eventually being revealed that it is actually an espionage AI, more properly called the Seeker, built by the Covenant. With the assistance of other characters revealed in audio chapters, the fictional protagonist breaks into a secure military installation and manages to deactivate a Forerunner device, which is implied to begin the firing sequence for the Halo installations. Now, the Halo installations are across the universe. The very first Halo game occurred on one of those. And basically what they're designed to do is destroy all life in the galaxy. Actually, all sentient life, should I say. They don't destroy all life, but they destroy all sentient life. The sentient life is required by the Flood to reproduce. So if the Flood, the creatures called the Flood will take over the galaxy if sentient life is available for them to reproduce on. So these halos were designed by the Forerunners to destroy all sentient life, therefore stopping the Flood from spreading, but also destroying all sentient life. So, I mean, sentient life has to grow back again, in which time the Flood will then be able to spread again, and then the halos will reactivate, and it's a bit messy. But jumping back to this.
Sorry to give it, the sentient life is not going to make it here.
Sentient life has an expiration date. However, the price paid for the deactivation is a powerful energy transmission alerting the Covenant of the location of Earth. Whole again, Melissa now sees how she has been manipulated by the Pious Flea and returns to her time. I Love Bees ends with the Covenant invading Earth, corresponding to a major plot point in Halo 2. Due to Bungie's commitment to the development of Halo 2 during the I Love Bees runs, they were unable to assist 42 Entertainment with story creation, and so the ARG story is only tangentially related to the main Halo storyline. The events in I Love Bees were therefore originally not considered to be Halo canon. In 2006, however, Bungie's content manager Frank O'Connor expressly confirmed that I Love Bees is part of Things That We Embrace as canon. References to elements of I Love Bees have since appeared in 2006 Halo graphic novel and 2009 Halo Encyclopedia, both of which are canon, official canon. Now, that's the plot of the ARG. Do they have the actual plot of the story? Not on here. Okay. I'm going to have to look around and see if I can find the plot of the story.
That's quite all right.
Plot of the ARG.
That's quite all right. We can just dive into the story, and I was trying to find myself too, but and of course, if you want a shorter version of the kind of like a plot of the story for all our listeners, I'm going to point them out to the link to that video, that YouTube video from Rocket Sloth, called The Secret Website That Revealed Halo 2. Towards the end of that, I think it's about 10 minutes. He would give you the entire plot in about 10 minutes. However, I strongly recommend you just listen to the entire story because it is that good.
Okay, I've got it. My Google Foo is working today.
Oh, nice. Go ahead.
So this is actually from halopedia.org. So it's good. Story synopsis. In 2552, an alien artifact splits up the USNC AI Melissa into three parts. One part stays in 2552, has amnesia, and is named Durga. The other two parts, the operator and sleeping princess, are sent back in time to the website I Love Bees. Also with the latter is the Trojan horse AI, the Seeker, sent by the Covenant as a spy. The operator falsely believes the sleeping princess is the Trojan horse and tries to kill her. Participants in the ARG would communicate with the operator and sleeping princess to learn details of the plot, forming different factions with either character. The audio drama consists of recordings taken by Durga in 2552 explaining what's going on in the future. Durga is taken in by a boy named Jersey. who realizes he had God's own spyware and uses her to spy on a hot girl in the building, Jan. In doing so, it comes to light that her family is a lot more interesting than first apparent. Durga goes on to spy on several other people she finds interesting and eventually assembles them into her crew. She takes her crew to a military base to deactivate the alien artifact, which will potentially keep the Halo array from activating, an action which causes the AI fragments to return to the future and merge back into Melissa. It seems like everyone will live happily ever after, but then the Covenant invade Earth as Halo 2 begins. So there we go. Cha-ching! Context. It only took us, an hour and 10 minutes to get context?
And that's how they started doing Doomsday Prepper stuff too. If you notice,
Oh
like
yeah,
the father that is doing the underground.
Rainy's dad
Yeah. Oh
under
my
a
god.
dog pond.
That was like, okay, this is a little bit too much.
Man, the story is just amazing. From the very start, it is kind of funny when Durga lands on Jersey's laptop or not laptop, computer. It wasn't. What do you think it was? I mean, it wasn't really clear. It wasn't really well defined. All we know is that it's a computer that Jersey uses. For all I know, it could be a chatter.
Well, I think the chatter is like an all-in-one communication device, computing device, tracker from the government. It's the be-all and end-all. It does everything, payments, all sorts of things. As we discover in the story, if you deactivate it and ghost, then you can't do anything in society. Like, society does not recognize that you exist. So it's kind of integral in living in a technological society in 2552 on Earth.
It is a little creepy, and you could see how this could become a future because it's possible. But just to paint a picture, you imagine, I mean, granted, we have our cell phones right now, and they're always on, and we know that because of the privacy, um, you know, options that we're getting from different cell phone manufacturers, it is possible for someone to track you on your cell phone. But in this world, if you're not trackable, you do not exist. To the point where there's a scene in here later on in the story when I think it was Kamal went off the grid, basically turning his chatter off, and he tried to go and buy a coffee, and his card was declined.
Yep.
Um,
And then he said,
so
like, wait a minute, and he fixed it.
he turned it on, had the lady try again. She was kind of like hesitant as to, like, if it's declined, well, I'm going to try it again. But a second time after he turned the chatter on, it worked. So it is kind of creepy, especially when we know, like, what Kamal and Jersey are able to do. They call that ghosting. And ghosting is basically when you are listening in on someone's chatter. And this is where it becomes freaky because you could hear everyone clear as day, yet this chatter might be on their pocket and they're not technically using it.
They could connect even to the freaking light bulb in the center of a table.
Yeah, because everything is interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a completely integrated, digitally connected society.
China all over again.
But the whole thing is that's why Durga was so powerful. She was the military part of a military grade AI. She could basically go into this system and call the cops on people, adjust their tax records.
That is so funny.
Give them hundreds of parking tickets. And she's a vindictive bitch, Durga. If you're on her team, she will look after you to the end. But if you try and piss in anybody's pocket that she likes, she will take that.
That is hilarious. That is why Jersey always tells people when they meet Durga, don't piss her off.
Don't piss off the god AI.
There's a scene. There is a scene when I think he's being audited by the IRS, and
Mm.
this scene is so funny. Apparently Durga is pissed because
Mm.
he is messing with Jersey. No one messes with Jersey.
That's
And
right. He's an
so
officious little bastard who gets off on pushing people around, so Durga pushes back.
yeah, so it's
And when
like,
a military AI pushes back in an integrated society, you're
let,
fucked.
let me put this in perspective. You wouldn't want to piss off Cortana. And
No.
this is what we're dealing with.
Yep.
Mm.
A cycle.
So
Think of a Yandere Cortana, and you're pretty much on the.
To me, their guy's a full on cycle.
really, well, I don't know.
Come on, man. Here
I
I
think
see you
she's very protective.
psychology. Protective.
I think I think but then again, we get a little bit more insight into it when Kamal is talking about Jasmine and how she's always been what's the word he said, he
Was it Jasmine
controlling.
or Yasmin? I thought it was Yasmin.
Yeah, it might have
The
been.
Y.
She got stolen as a kid, and she basically, what happened was, um when she got the training for Spartan, the typical training that John went through, 117. And when she got into the physical and the biological enhancements, where, if you follow Halo, it involves multiple surgeries and injections. um uh, they inject you so they can increase your body mass. And you need to use the Mjolnir suit, because if you're just a normal human, using the suit will break every bone in your body, because it's
Chunky
just that.
salsa.
I'm sorry.
Chunky salsa.
Yeah.
You'll be vitamized inside of that thing.
Oh yes,
Yep.
it would be it would not be a pretty sight. Um, but when they got, um just like anything, any drug, there's the biology and people are different, and that's why we have, and today's drugs, there's also like the secondary reactions, and what some people will be more uh perceptible to get from this than others, and it's never that magic, that magical point, and that's why we have so many different drugs that are treating the same, because some people could be life or death for some people, and for some it's not a real issue. So the drugs they're using for the bio enhancements, um Jasmine rejected them, or her body rejected them, and because of this she dies. So Halsey, just copies her after death. She copies her brain and makes her into an AI, similar to what happened to Cortana. The only difference is, Cortana, we know it was just a clone of Halsey. This one actually is a clone of an actual human being, not a clone.
Yeah.
So that's what became the operator slash the princess slash Darga.
Melissa.
Melissa. She kind of
Mm.
split. She's all one person. She's all Jasmine. And when she split, we get Melissa, we get the princess, and we get Durga. So I don't know. I s- I see Durga as overprotective. I don't see her as a psycho per se, but then again, that's just my thought. What is your
She's
opinion?
vindictive. I would
Yes.
use the word vindictive. You
Oh
mess
yes.
with my people, I'm going to mess you up.
It's kind of funny when we were when and I was going to talk about this when he was being he was in the IRS. He and the IRS was investigating him, and she started messing with the environmental controls. So the guy was feeling hot, so he moved to another location of the room. That apparently, I don't know exactly how it works in this universe, because it's an audio drama. There's not much description. Um, but apparently it depends on where you are, similar to what happens with a fan, I guess. So he moves to another place, another location within that room, and he says, and now it's hot here too. And it's like it can't be expected to work under these conditions. And you hear Jersey says, it shouldn't be doing that. It shouldn't be doing that. It should
Mm.
stop now. Basically talking to Durga. And Durga said, it shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. But I'm not gonna stop it.
He's unruly.
And there's other parts where like they're having a discussion about, have you stopped messing with the IRS guy yet? No, he just got 34 parking tickets.
Oh my God. And at the end of that interview, too, if you notice, how many government agencies did she call on this poor guy? Even
All of them.
even the environmental agency was there, animal control,
Mm,
police.
mm. Oh shit. Oh, the definition that sticks. She's Yandere, but not to the well. She would have killed him if she'd been
Yes.
allowed, but Jersey wouldn't let him. So she just messed with him to the extent that a military AI super cracking software can, and that just basically went into all the governmental systems and said, "Right, you're for it. Everybody's coming for you."
It is kind of, it is kind of creepy if you think about, she is an Oni's AI. Oni is the best way that I can explain Oni, and I was trying to explain my wife, which by the way, I wish they do a show on Oni. It would be awesome. Especially if they have Rainy on, what was her name again? Um let's see, I have it right here. But basically what I'm saying is the Oni, the equivalent to Oni that I can think of is, imagine a combination, is Rani, Rainy, is imagine a combination of the NSA and the CIA into one organization.
But with hugely competent military grade AIs that can
Yeah.
just get into the systems and just mess up your day.
That's that's to me administrative centralization too. That's like the idea of the future government is gonna be ONU only. Like what they put in the Expanse. In the Expanse, the government was the ONU, the United Nations, and they would actually make the decisions for all the colonies and all the nations. Uh, I think that that's kind of the direction where the politics on Halo are set up through.
But that is the UNSC. But
Hmm.
as scary as the UNSC is, just knowing the Oni is the puppet master of the UNSC is
Hmm.
actually even scarier.
Yeah,
You know, and
it is.
and I don't know about you guys, but I want a TV show on Oni.
It actually reminds me a lot of the governmental sort of arrangement of Starship Troopers.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it's.
Starship Troopers.
Oh, you haven't seen that one?
Yeah, those are the one with the mosquitoes, no?
Big bloody
Yes,
mosquitoes.
Mosquito bites.
Must be from Queensland.
those are
Yeah,
the mosquitoes that Giancarlos wants
in
to see.
Australia. Yeah, I want to go to Australia to see those mosquitoes. I'm gonna get the
Yeah.
Halo gun and just go and shoot them.
You,
I'm sorry
you're
for the
outside at night
kangaroos.
having a few beers and they'll try and carry you away,
Oh my god.
keep you for later.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I'm gonna take like a flame tower torch or something so I can protect myself when I go to Australia.
I have to talk about Janissary James.
Oh, my favorite character.
The crotch.
You know, I don't know. I mean, she's. Let me think about this for a minute. The you have the dad, right? What was his name again? Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim is a 1.0. And basically what this is a non-invasive um experiment from Halsey, which because of this experiment is how she came out with the Spartans 2.0 program. So Jim and Gilly were part of a group of military people. It was a whole platoon. They were enhanced. I envisioned they were enhanced as much as you would see like in Halo Infinite with the new Spartan program,
Hmm.
because it was designed for humans. And I have a feeling that the newest Spartan programs, after the Master Chief died for the events of Halo Infinite, were actually derived from the Spartan 1.0 program because we know it works. We know most of the people did survive, not like the Spartan programs that kill almost everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so if you think about Jenny Sarah James, she's a very unique person because James and Gilly are her parents, and they're both 1.0. So what she got, in addition to alterations from that Jim was able to or managed to get on his daughter when she was younger, she inherits the traits from Jim and Gilly. And there's a scene on the audio drama where Jenny Siri James was actually, they call her Jan. She was actually escaping a military installation. She
It's
was
very early on in the story.
very early on, so you'll catch it in the chapter one in one of those files. And she jumped a 3-story high building. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you jumping off a 3-story high building? It's
Nah.
not
I
a
can,
good.
but I wouldn't survive like she did.
It is not a good thing.
My hip.
She landed, got up, and walked away. And that gives you an idea of what I think. Didn't they call her Spartan 1.2 or something like that?
1.1.
Or 1.1?
Yeah.
Because she was born from a from a Spartan 1.0's parents. That is kind of cool if you think about it. And I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, Ray, but I think that might be why she's your favorite character in this.
Well, biologically, that doesn't track because your somatic cells and your genes, which get passed on, are separated before birth. So, whatever modifications you have done to your body can't be passed on. Um,
Even if it's a
it,
biological change?
well, yeah, because unless it was a full body genomic modification, so it would have to then extend to your genome in your reproductive organs. Um, just modifying the body, like biological, like adding stuff or changing the way something develops, doesn't affect your genome that you will pass on to the next generation. So you can't, unless they modified the genome through the entire body, including the reproductive organs, then it wouldn't have an effect. You see, what a lot of people don't realize is that your mother already has the eggs that you will come from developing in her body before she's born.
Oh,
They
I
come from
see.
the grandmother. So now there is a field of genetics which is fairly new. It's only been around for about 15 years, called epigenetics.
That's what made
And
my mother's mother so grand.
epigenetics, now this gets a bit complicated, so I won't go into the nitty gritty, but epigenetics is about effects on your grandparents, which are passed to you as the grandchild. It actually skips your parents because the egg, like I said, the eggs and the spermatocytes that the genome comes from to create the baby actually is formed within the grandparent when the child is being formed. So it jumps a generation. So my genetics is more closely related to my grandparents than it is to my parents in an epigenetic sense.
Okay.
So you get your genes from your parents, but you get your epigenetics from your grandparents, and this is how biological organisms are able to adapt so much, is that they have these two different systems where it modifies the way your body works based on what happened to your grandparents and what your parents can give you.
And
The
I
combination
do
of what
I do want to clarify too the experiment, the Spartan 1.0 program, what the goal of the experiment was. It wasn't physical enhancements as like in a way of adding stuff to it. It was Halsey's way to figure out what works when enhancing the body biologically through a series of injections. So training, it wasn't an issue because they picked the best of the best on the Marines. So people that were like really in their physical peak to try to do injections to change their biology. And that's what the whole experiment was. Um, it wasn't to the extent of the Spartan 2.0 program because the alterations were so drastic that I want to say more than half of the people that were into the program with those biological alterations died because it was so drastic. But the 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 one point, and I almost feel like Halsey was actually in a hurry because she did the Spartan 1.0 program and not, people died, but it wasn't half of them. So I almost feel like she got the data for that experiment and created the Spartan 2.0 program and just went haphazard because she was in a hurry to create somebody that could defend the covenant. Now, on that comment, I like to get your opinion and see if you feel the same way of you think of something different. And you too, Giancarlos, because you played Halo 1 and 2, right?
Yes, even though I was playing Halo 2 the other day and I was not remembering many things I was playing that I have
Oh,
played.
okay. So I just want to post that in there and see. That was
And
my
and to be honest to me, like I can relate a lot when I listen to Outlaw Bees to what I saw in the little bit that I play of Halo OST.
yes.
Because it's not about the Spartans, but the military force that fought side by side with them. And you got all those little bits of stories on background lives that they had going on. So they are like chattering and talking about their lives while you're going through the campaign as a regular soldier, not as an Spartan, which is kind of like a hero. But no,
Yep.
you're just a typical John Doe here, but
Oh,
your skills as gameplay is gonna define if you can get through the story and survive.
ODSTs are really cool. They're orbital drop troopers. It's
Hmm.
it's so cool.
Isn't it orbital drop shock troops?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
So I just wanted to pose that
Well,
idea and see
the
what you
way I
guys think.
look at it is that the Mark Ones were, we want some better soldiers, but we want quite a few of them, and then the Mark Twos were, we want some super soldiers, but we're not going to get very many of them. So it was a case of more but not so good, or fewer but really freaking good. So you got to weigh up which one's going to give you the best bang for your buck, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously, Spartan 2's goddamn tough and could do amazing things that no one else could do, but he didn't get very many. So
Yeah. And Jen got, she got based on what I hear, she got some traits, but she did get injected. And I wonder how they got a hold of the generic and apparently it happened when she was a kid.
yeah.
Um
So what I figure is that they picked really good genetics for the beginning of the program. So even if Janissary couldn't inherit what was done to her parents, she was at least getting really good genetics in the combination. So, people who, in that top 5% of sporting ability and all that sort of stuff, and just peak physical specimen kind of situation. And then she got modifications that were sort of a gray market or black market from the Spartan 1 program and became Spartan 1.1. Now, if what they were doing was actually gene therapy to change the Spartan 1.1s, and it extended from the somatic cells, which are your normal cells, to your reproductive cells, if it did all of them, then she could have got some of that through standard reproduction. Chances are it didn't, but that is one way it could be passed on.
I always
Which
wonder
is what I
about
was
that.
getting to. But yeah, I mean, if your body gets modified, like you get a tattoo or you take hormones to increase your muscle mass or whatever, that's not going to go to your children, because it's not modifying the genetics of your reproductive cells. It's modifying your somatic makeup.
Cool. So what I would have to mention that I want to say Gilly is my favorite one.
Gilly was pretty cool.
She I know she's a secondary character in the story, but I wouldn't be mad if they make a TV show with they show Gilly. I see Gilly as a Spartan. Granted not a 2.0, but she's badass.
But that's the thing. I don't separate Spartans by their generations. To
Nope.
me, they are just same as legendary. They're just newer versions. But that's what we humans do. We evolve continuously. So, like, if you look at like ancient civilizations, you got the same thing happening that you had in Halo. You got elite forces that are evolving and becoming stronger with the learning on new knowledge and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that an Indian chieftain, great warrior, is less of a warrior than a marine. They were great on their own ways. So when I see the older Spartan versions, when I hear about them, and I see the newer ones, they don't change to me. I mean, Master Chief is the same Master Chief throughout all the Halos.
Yeah, I was only mentioning that because, for example, Gilly cannot wear a Mjolnir suit like Master Chief's.
Yeah.
She will not have the same effect as a regular Marine, but she will be hurt. Um, and we know this because look at when Jane jumped that 3-story high building, it didn't face her. So that's kind of like a similar impact of what would happen of using the Mjolnir suit. But I don't know. I have a hard time believing that she would be okay after use of that suit. I think that they were using a modified version similar to what we see on Halo Infinite. But that's just my thought, just my
Yeah.
opinion. But regardless, she's badass. She
Well, you can train to do a roll when you fall from a great height and absorb the energy of the fall in the roll, rather than you don't sort of just land on your legs and hope your knees survive. You roll and dissipate the kinetic energy that way, and then come up into a standing crouch and move on like that, which she may have done. One thing I wanted to mention before we move on is the way that the story was crafted. In particular, that scene or that snippet where you had two security goons in the security center, and they're describing what's happening on the screen. And I think it was really well executed in that they were talking to each other, and they were like, okay, where's she gone? She's disappeared. She's back again. Holy crap, she dropped down from the ceiling. She was hiding on the ceiling?
They were like, when she jumped, they were like, oh, she's not gonna make it. Oh, she just stands up and running. Did I just saw that?
and they actually called the ambulance.
Yeah.
We got a jumper, call the ambulance. Holy
Yep.
crap, she made it.
I was imagining Venom escaping from the laboratory when I was hearing that shit. I was like, this is Venom all over again.
But it was really well executed in the Foley and the way people were talking, describing to you what was happening. So you knew, rather than having a narrator explaining it and pulling you out of the story, the way they wrote it so that people talking told you everything you needed to know to what was happening in the action sequences was really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just amazing. I mean, there's a couple of parts that were, sentimental. One of them was when Jim died. Um, I don't know. I hate asking this question because I know I get affected a lot more. But I always am curious to see what was the level of effect that scene took on you guys. Um, I, he was kind of stupid in
Mm,
my way because he even said it before in previous conversations with Jan, where you don't go alone, you go with your platoon. Um, it seems like Gilly and Gladys and him were gonna go and rescue Jan from Fenkenko. However, I as a parent, as a dad, I cannot see his point too, where he could not wait and he went ahead to try to rescue and figure, I guess, by the time I get there, Gilly and Gladys will be there to back me up. But I can't wait because they're hurting my little girl. Um,
mm.
what I guess this is a two-part question. What do you think about that? And how did that scene affect you? Where he's actually just apologizing to Jan because he couldn't rescue as he's being killed by these goons. The first time I heard that, I was actually in tears, and this is back in 2004.
Oh, poor thing.
Now, I listen to the story so much that it still affects me, but it didn't break me like it did back in 2004.
To me, it was like they were getting dirty on her. Like, yeah, baby, take it. It was strong to listen to, but at the same time, she's such a smart mouth. It's like, dang it, like control your mouth when you see the situation is not favorable to you, and that didn't stop her from getting herself into more trouble. You know, it's like having being at gunpoint and being a smart mouth. Still, I'm just asking to get
Mm,
shot or to get
She
tortured or
mhm,
whatever.
she was 17.
mhm.
She
I was
was 17.
17. I was not that stupid, bro. I had guns in my face at 17. I didn't freaking cross the line. Took it easy.
I suppose if you were a Spartan 1.1 and you could get away with leaping off 3-story buildings and shit like that, you might have an overblown sense of your immortality and therefore wouldn't feel so threatened even in a situation like that. Whereas, normal Joe version 0.2 like myself would be shutting the hell up because my mortality was revealed to me very early on when I got diabetes at 12. So I already knew by that stage.
Well,
Wow.
man, it doesn't matter how sweet are the animes, you can still consume them.
So was it difficult for you as well, Ray? Well, that might be
I
poor
was I
using
was
word.
more frustrated that he rushed in there and got his ass killed. I mean,
I
he
feel
would.
you.
I can understand that emotion took over, and he just wanted to go and rescue his little girl. But I couldn't see that an experienced military man would just go charging in there. He knew that they would have something set up to trap him if he did that. He knew it. He should have had some way out of there. He should have had like a grappling hook with
A
something
contingency
that could.
plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who's ever role played has contingency plans above contingency plans above contingency plans. Plan A, Plan B, Plan Z, and most of them involve explosives. But
Yeah.
you've got to think that he. I don't know. I think he was written poorly there. I mean, they wanted to kill him off to give her a reason to get really upset, and
Push
I
her
don't
over the
think
edge.
I don't think they did his character any. Like, it was a disservice to write
Yeah.
him his end like that. I felt
That was
it was a
not
kind of
expected of a Spartan.
yeah, it was a kind of a
Yeah.
low point in the story. I think it could have been done better.
Yeah. I think Rainey was another character. She's one of the main characters, but I think um she didn't get the attention that she deserves. Um, I don't know if that's what your experience was when you listened to this. There's so much more about Rainey, um, with her like prep father. um, but I was reading online and I noticed I guess I'm not the only one that feels this way, where even at the end of the story where she was you know she got arrested and it's kind of like we forgot about her.
Yeah.
Um, what is your thought on that? I mean, I like again, I might be partial because I really want an Oni TV show, and it would be cool if they have Rainey on it on the show. Maybe in the future where she's like already like a boss or something. I think she's really cool. To be able to look at a situation and analyze everything so clinical to the point where you mystify people into thinking that you're some sort of clairvoyant, and
Hmm.
it's amazing to me, and it makes sense the way, like for example, when they send that guy to kill her, the guy dropped, I guess Herzog had the guy killed. She went down and she's asking, okay, who's this guy? No, anybody know this guy? And they're saying, no, I thought he was it looks like a bomb. It's like a bomb that has been here around here. um and
His feet
what's
are clean.
yeah, the first thing that she said was that his feet are
Well,
clean.
she was a military analyst.
Hmm.
She's a civilian, but she was a military analyst employed by the Office of Naval Intelligence. She was like she reminded me of Sherlock Holmes
Yeah,
in her ability to see things and put them together.
I
Um,
love her character. I mean,
hmm.
when she meets Jersey for the first time, it's like, uh, I think she mentions like he's from New York. It's like, how do you know? Is it this? Is it that? Jersey's telling all this stuff. It's like, dude, you have a
New
New
York
York.
stamp on your luggage. She was like a Hermione Granger to me.
That
That's
is,
what I felt.
yeah, yeah. The character is amazing, and I didn't feel. I feel that when you listen to this, you seem to care more about Jersey and Kamal, um, and Durga than you do about Rainey, especially when Rainey comes down a couple of chapters later. She doesn't come right up, from the start. Is that what do you feel about that? I mean, just kind of curious to see because that's how I feel about this character.
Yeah, she kind of got left hanging. She's the one that takes the fall when they go into the base to deactivate the device that's going to destroy all sentient life in the galaxy by activating the Halo rings. And she everyone else escapes and she ends up in jail. The poor girl takes the fall for them. So yeah, she got the short end of the stick for sure.
Yeah, karma
Um,
doesn't rest well on her.
no, it doesn't. It surely doesn't. But I mean, yeah, I hope that she might have been going to be exonerated, but then the Covenant invade.
Yeah,
Um, the prophet of regret shows up. So
I was thinking the same thing. I think that the Covenant was invading, so what's the sense of keeping prisoners? They're gonna glass. They're gonna glass. They're planning on glassing the planet. So
mm,
I
I
don't
think
know.
that those are things that nobody thinks about. It's like the recluse and people like that. When there's a crisis, nobody gives thought to, hey, we have to save these humans too, no, which is kind of ugly, but it's not unrealistic or unexpected of we humans as we think and behave. You
And
know.
you find it hard to believe that they will not use it under those circumstances because she is an asset even for you for Oni standards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I always thought after I listened to this whole thing for the first time that somehow after the Covenant invades, that she somehow got freed from jail, and Stanish might have used her for Oni, to try to defend Earth, because she is a valuable asset. She is amazing.
Hmm.
It would be a shame that they've just Stanish. That's another character. He's such an a hole.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, the guy you love to hate. Yeah, definitely.
Because you could see and it's a little frustrating because like they're trying to save Earth, and he's just trying to cover his political behind.
Hmm.
It's like he doesn't care, dude.
And he has his own agenda going on.
Exactly. I mean, it's Earth we're talking about. You are living on Earth. Wouldn't you care to protect it?
Mm.
So, those are the thoughts that came to my head when I'm, experiencing this interaction with Stanish and what he's trying to do across his entire, um, you know,
Well, there's a lot of people who lie to themselves quite convincingly about big things. Like he was probably lying to himself and telling himself there's no way that the Covenant could ever invade Earth.
Hmm.
Like that, people
I
take a
noticed. I
stance like
noticed a
that, and
lot
then
of
they act
skepticism to that.
completely ignoring that thing that's in their face because they don't think it can happen. And I think he was almost at the point of having a psychotic break over that tiny little fact. It was,
Yeah,
I mean,
there was a big
all through the
skepticism about the reality.
yeah,
That's
but
true.
all through the story, you hear about the colonies being overrun,
yeah.
and they'll be here soon, and rah rah rah, and he's just completely ignoring it. It's not going to happen. Can't possibly happen.
I would not be surprised if he blames Rainey and her crew for the attack on Earth
Yeah.
Could
because
be.
they were in the room with the artifact, and the artifact
Well,
did. It,
the pulse of the artifact being deactivated did alert the Covenant to the location of Earth.
so I wouldn't be
But
surprised that he
but I
uses
mean
that.
the Trojan virus may have also done that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's hard to say. So I just wanted to mention as a random factoid that Sobek, her Rainey's surname, Sobek is actually the Egyptian god, alligator-headed god who was the protector of the pharaoh.
Awesome.
So there's a random factoid for you.
Nice.
Egyptian Halo.
Yeah.
Um, another emotional moment is when they destroy Coral.
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that as well, but um, there was an interaction between Sophia and Kamal
You should
where
mention that both of them came from Coral and their families were on Coral.
yeah. So there was there has been some, and I guess I can understand in a way where Soph might have her feelings.
I see you
She
being unbiased.
well, she's I imagine she's been trying to leave, like many people from a small town. They try to go to the big cities because there's X or Y, uh, a reason why they hate that place. Maybe
Yeah.
there's always a reason. I mean, there's always people that don't want to leave. They stay all their life, and then young people usually find ways. I gotta go to the big city. That's common through history, and I'm sure it happens through in every country. There's how the young people want to go back to the city.
Happened to me,
Um,
man. Live from the buses and the snakes to come here. Yeah.
so she, I think, is a little stronger on her to the point where, and I assume because it wasn't really explained or detailed in any way, but I'm assuming that there was some trauma involved because the feeling was very strong. She hated Coral and she couldn't wait to leave it. And now that she's in Earth with a fake visa, she was happy, although she was homeless for a portion of her stay on Earth. So considering that, I mean, you would think, okay, you come here, her initial stay in here, I think she stayed with an uncle that most of the time she was homeless. So you would think, you know, uh, things have to be worse on Coral if she would talk so badly about Coral, even though she was homeless on Earth. So
Yep.
this is the reason, or my mentality as to why I think some trauma had to happen. However, when they were having this conversation, she actually straight out said, "I hope the Covenant Coral. I hate that place. I will never go back to it." And
Hmm.
Kamal was upset, obviously, because not only her parents are there, but Kamal's parents are as well. And he don't want to hear that, So basically, we're done here, and she walks away. And when he goes back, immediately after he returns to his apartment, his friend basically tells us, haven't you heard the news? Coral was glassed by the Covenant.
Mm.
And next you hear the door knocking, and it's Sophia. Soph is hysterical. And she says, between her cries, I didn't mean it. That I remember that scene also was very hard to me the very first time. It is still hard for me when I listen to it even today,
She
but
stayed
it's
with
not.
Kamal, right?
I'm sorry.
She stayed with Kamal, right?
Yeah,
Do you think that she genuinely wanted to be with him?
I'm sorry.
You think that she genuinely wanted to be with him?
Well, it kind of makes sense because of what she said just minutes ago. Um, and when they're both from Coral as well, and they both have family, and their entire family is from there. So it makes sense that she would go, especially because what she said. She feels guilty, in my opinion, because that's what she said. She said, "I hope the Covenant glass Coral," and that's exactly what happened. It's kind of like
Mm. She just
so
had the guilt.
I I was kind of broken in 2004 when I heard this for the first time. What was your experience on this particular scene? I mean, can you? I mean, I know you don't have the same reaction, but analyzing the what happened on that scene.
It was strongly emotional. I mean, I'm pretty sure she said that because she was just pushing away her past. She didn't want to think about it. She didn't want to be part of it anymore. She just wanted it to go away. But when it went away, she realized what she'd lost. And the fact that, she knew somebody who cared so much about his family, whose family, well, they believed that the mother was on Coral at the time, but the Sophia's boyfriend, in inverted commas, that she was with because he could get uh, fake visas for people to get back to Earth, to get away from the encroaching Covenant, and he
Little did
actually
she know,
managed to
huh?
he actually managed to save Kamal's mother and get her off Coral with a fake visa before the Covenant got there, but they didn't know that at the time. So Sophia thought that she'd said something horrible about Coral, and it had come true practically moments later, and Kamal's mother had been killed, and she felt so bad about that. And I think that's probably where she realized that she had strong feelings for Kamal.
Yeah. Well,
But
we
what
kind
about
of
her
get.
boyfriend?
She'd hurt him.
Well, we kind of get that the boyfriend thing is, he's a bad guy. But if you think about it, I don't know. I might be wrong. I'm gonna say it out loud, and you guys let me know what you think. But I think she was there just because he's able to get her parents off of Coral,
Mm-hmm.
because he got her off of Coral.
He wasn't really that attached to her. He was just, friend with benefiting, because he was
Yeah,
benefiting
he
her
seemed like a
and she was
player when he
benefiting him
talks.
back. It wasn't a particularly emotional relationship that they were having. So when she started falling for Kamal, he was like, yeah, well, I know she cares about you, so off you go, kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, it was kind of oddly uh amusing how welcoming and okay he was that Kamal was gonna stay with her. I was like, what the fuck is wrong? What this guy's game is? Like he's playing at something. He's not just being like that. And they're like, oh shit, he really is.
Come, come on, Kamal. Come on, Kamal. Come.
He sounds like a total douchebag, though.
Yeah. But
Now,
it's kind of funny.
wasn't that a scandal too that basically he was not really bringing people, he was cloning them and bringing clones, so their real family was not never.
No, he wasn't. I think basically he has these schemes. He's always thinking about what to do next to get
Get
money.
rich quick schemes.
Exactly. So when he got a hold of Kamal, he's a medical student. He's like, oh, this is my big ticket. So he had this idea, and this is another thing that kind of like it was emotional too about this show. Is he had the idea that if he can get Kamal to do clones of celebrities, he can charge admission and make money off of the celebrities. Which, if you think about it, wouldn't the celebrities complain? But
Yeah.
regardless. So
Well,
Kamal,
the idea was that he could create clones that would just sit there and shake hands and sign signatures and stuff. Because apparently those Flash clones can't speak very well because they haven't had the time to learn the language and all that sort of stuff. And basically, it was just appearance money. He was going to clean up on the appearance money that people could be appearing in multiple places at once and making more money that way. But it wasn't a very well thought out plan.
yeah. So Kamal, he's a medical student. He's not a scientist. And I was thinking, you know what? This is something that Dr. Catherine Healthy was invented or created. It was immediately illegal by the UNSC. So I was thinking, yeah, now. But and I think, Kamal was thinking the same thing. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna investigate it just to prove him that it's something that cannot be done. And the part that I found heartbreaking was the fact that in the process of his researching, not only did he break um, Aiden's spirit because he was expecting someone that waves and signs autographs, but these clones will not be able to speak. They most likely will drool all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be like a good presentation. But he's trying to tell him that they're going to die eventually because their biological system it will fail in cascade. So I think they call it metabolic cascade failure, where
Yeah.
eventually everything fails at once and the clone dies. And he says the first thing that Aiden says is like, "Oh, that takes care of what we were going to do with them after." But that reminds him when he read that this is the reason why Kamal's sister Jasmine died from, and that was a big realization. Um,
Mm.
the fact that, and he says this later because he runs out of that place where he was with Aiden, and he goes to Sophia's place, and he was telling Sophia basically that she never came from the hospital. What they took home was a clone. And now all of a sudden he is broken because he feels that his sister was expecting him to rescue her and he never did. But like Sophia said, you didn't know. You thought you had the sister with you. You didn't know you had a clone. So what was your experience on that scene when you got to that part? It wasn't as, I mean, I found it hard. It's a little hard still today, but it wasn't as hard as the first time that I listened to it. Um
Well, I thought it was a terrific plot twist.
Yes.
There's a lot of times in life where you get a snippet of information, it suddenly makes something else that feels completely unrelated make sense, something that you never understood. And I love the way they used that in this situation, that he was like, and flash clones, they suffer this metabolic cascade failure, and that's what happened to my. Oh shit! And he just takes off out of the room, and it's like you can imagine that stomach dropping feeling. That's a Oh my god. And they never could work out what happened to his sister, and then he realized that she'd been taken away to become a Spartan, and just by Oni, and that was the end of that. It was like, human rights be damned.
Yeah.
This is what they did to us, bastards.
What do you think, Giancarlos, in that scene? I mean, was it?
I liked it, but I noticed that not only there, but all throughout the show, there are a lot of social nuances just thrown out there with no taboos or filters. And that kind of prepares you not to get so shocked when this kind of plot twist happens. Because that's not the only time that you got a big plot twist throughout the whole recordings, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay. Like when the guy calls Jennings, I think it is,
Jan?
Jen, and like to help him cover up for a murder. That was like kind of like, damn, this is kind of dark,
It's messed up because he got to see the test results before
Yeah.
Jan's dad destroys the police department.
Hmm.
So he had no proof, but he's like, you know what? I have this guy that committed a crime. I had the opportunity to pay him back because um it was a friend. It was a police friend of him,
Hmm.
and he took advantage of the situation. That's why I felt really like vindicated towards the end when Jan called him up and said, "Look, um, there's not going to be a disturbance here. No one's going to get shot." And he's like, she's doing exactly what he did to her back at the beginning of the story, and that was so cool. It's like, okay, you use me, now I'm using you.
And it was all because Durga could just basically do anything um,
Yeah,
in the system. But then, of course, I really like the way they rounded out the story, in that all the people who'd split up, they had a scene from each of them, and then at the end of it, the sirens would go off, the air raid sirens, warning that the Covenant had arrived. And they wrapped it all up very neatly in and the Covenant have shown up, which is what happens at the start of Halo 2. So it links it to the very start of the game, which makes it pressing. And there was a really good feeling of the Covenant are coming, with the colonies, the reports of the colonies being overrun, and people trying to stream back towards Earth, and all the people on Earth are trying to just go about their daily lives, but you can tell that there's a tension. They know it's coming, but they can't do anything about it. So they just try and live normally, but it's not really working very well.
yeah,
So I think that was really well portrayed, sort of that whole war is coming, invasion is coming. We know it's coming. There's nothing we can do. The military are doing what they can, but all we can do is try to live our lives and not, die from stress and heart attacks and shit.
Winter's coming. Brace yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. The I think that the hardest emotional point on this drama, and I'm going back. I mean, it's still as emotional today, but it kind of broke me.
It
Well,
was the hot beverage machine, wasn't it? The
there
love
you go.
story between the hot beverage
Yeah,
machine and the the other device in the diner.
that was so funny. When Kamal realizes, I mean, where Jersey um, shows Kamal Durga, and they realize that it was his sister,
Mm.
Hmm.
and the guilt that Kamal felt, that it just overall, it just broke me back then. I mean, it doesn't break me now, but um
Oh, you're strong now.
well, I was listening to it with my wife, and
What does not kill you makes you stronger.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, what do you what do you guys thought about that scene? There's a lot of guilt going on in that scene.
Oh, for sure.
There is, but like he's such a naive person that it doesn't surprise me sometimes. The kind of holes he gets himself into because of how naive Kamal can be. So he doesn't measure the seriousness of situations at times.
I don't know that he's particularly naive, but he cares too much is more the problem.
That's being naive. If you care too much and then you're caring for a person that has
Well,
nothing on the best of your
naivety
interest.
is a lack of understanding of how the world actually works, and he understands how it works. I mean, he's studied a lot. He's basically just got to do some exams and a bit of time in grade, and he's a doctor.
But to me, that's he's book smart. He's street illiterate. You
Well,
know what
I
I
don't think
mean?
so. I don't think so because he helps that little girl who had the intestinal tuberculosis. He works it out when the other doctors couldn't work it out, and he knows stuff. He's smart. He's
Yeah,
seen
he is.
seen
Well, like
stuff.
he's on the street or he's on the C block of the jail. He's fresh meat. His smart's not gonna get him anywhere.
Well, he is a doctor candidate. So
He's great.
I,
He's a god on a hospital, not our. How's
I
that?
don't think he's particularly naive, but he cares too much. He puts himself in harm's way to help other people.
Yeah.
and then he
He does.
feels it,
Hmm.
and then he feels it. Um,
But the reason he became a doctor was because his sister died, and he wanted to become a doctor and help people who were in the same situation, not knowing that it wasn't his sister.
Yeah.
So he gets the double bombshell of that wasn't your sister, that was a flash clone, and then this AI was created from your sister because she washed out, i.e., died in the Spartan program.
she was really cruel. How she said, Jasmine is dead. She died. I was like, whoa, um, I don't know. I just found it like stick the knife harder, don't you?
Well, she was trying to force the point home. She was basically, it was like a AI's version of a slap to the face. Because she doesn't have hands, so she can't slap.
Yeah.
So she had to do it some other way. Wake up to yourself, boy. I am not your sister. I am a copy of her intelligence that has been turned into an AI. Get it right.
I think at that point she was what point? I think at that point she was whole again. I'm trying to think. Where
No, that was before the recombination, I think.
I'm trying to remember where. I know by the time the Covenant got there, obviously, but I'm trying to remember at what point in the, because it wasn't really apparent when she was whole again.
Well, obviously she was whole again when she explained what happened in the past on the I Love Bees server. So she'd been recompiled when she knew about that, which was maybe half an hour before the end.
Oh, okay.
But I think the realization that Durga was part of a copy of Yasmin's intelligence was well before that.
So I guess I should ask, because I'm pointing places in the story that I found interesting. What for you guys would you say? I don't know if you have multiple places or just one place, but interesting scenes in the story that you want to call out that really speaks to you.
The diner with the hot beverage vending machine. They played that for all it was worth. I mean, Janissary coming in and having fake conversations with it.
Hey,
it had
Bev,
a limited number of
how you feeling
responses.
today? Oh, you look so sassy today. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Would you like a warm beverage?
Hey, what do you think about that toaster over there? Is giving you the eye. It's like,
Yeah.
thank you. I don't understand the question.
And then when was it was it Kamal that went in there, and then Durga took it over and was using it to talk to him.
I just wanted a coffee.
That's right. It was beautiful. It was so well executed. I mean, the writing in this thing was superb for something that wasn't like a mainstream audio play and was just going to be chopped up and thrown out there in hopes that they would put it back together the right way, the fans.
And for all we know, it's put back together the wrong way. We still don't, because it still feels a little chappy, even when, you know.
Yeah, but the level of professionalism and execution of the story as it was recorded is brilliant. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend to anybody who hasn't listened to it to go and listen to it. It is a really good radio drama, and I've listened to quite a few. So
it is.
Yeah.
And it's Halo related, you know. If you're a gamer, you know, and this is another thing too that I was thinking. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of people. I venture to say, I might be wrong, that have played Halo 2 not knowing anything about I Love Bees.
Me.
Do you agree with that statement?
I had no clue what I Love Bees was until you brought it up the other week.
Me neither.
So, yeah.
So
Me
if you
neither.
go back and play Halo 2 after playing I Love Bees, your perspective is going to be different.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of things now.
It's just crazy.
In fact, they mention New Mombasa in I Love Bees.
Halo OST stars in Mombasa.
Yeah. And I heard OSD has a lot of Easter eggs from I Love Bees.
I'm sure. That's what I'm telling you. When I listened to I Love Bees, what got to my mind was Halo OST. You
And
felt
you
like you
know,
were playing the life of most of those people that were coming on I Love Bees was Halo OST.
and I'm going to mention this to you and tell me what you think. But in I Love Bees, there is actually an audio drama that you unlock by going to all the payphones in the game.
Yes. That is mentioned in the I Love Bees documentary.
Have you even known of that?
No, I didn't know about it until I saw the
I think you
documentary.
mentioned it, but I thought it was the way that the game was played to get the parts that all the ones that you get us compiled was getting it like that, bits by bits on the phone.
Yeah, and if you think about it, uh, what I find interesting about that is the fact that it's kind of like I Love Bees, but in game. You still have to go to payphones, and and you have to go to different payphones. And you get the story out of order, and then you have to put it together in game to get the whole story. Now, Halo Infinite has something similar to this. You get audio clips throughout the game. I don't know if you ever played Halo Infinite.
Yes, you actually I see that you collect those. Like you get to a call point, and when you get there, there's no soldiers or anything. It's just like a transmission that you're picking up or something.
And
That
you
has
put
like
those
short
transmissions.
conversations.
Exactly. If you notice when you're going through your map, there's orders. So maybe you picked up transmission 5, but transmission 1 is missing.
Yep.
So the whole thing of I Love Bees, in my opinion, and I might be wrong here, people who are fans of the game, Halo, are missing out by not listening to this and then playing. So my recommendation is, if you ever play Halo 2 or OSD or any other Halo games after Halo 2,
Quit
go
the
back and
safekeeping. Quit the safekeeping. And
go
listen
and
to
listen
it.
to I Love Bees and then play again and see how your perspective. And I want to hear your opinions. Just go ahead and reach out to us and let us know what you think after you
You gotta
replay
make
the
it.
game.
You gotta make it more catchy, man. Listen to I Love Beats, and you're gonna see what the buzzing around is.
Bzz. So I guess Giancarlos, what was your favorite part of this story? If you have a favorite, because I love the entire thing. I love this thing.
Well, Jenny Sari, when she did the number on the complex and threw the vehicle, That's to me. I like the badasses. And although she's a smart mouth and she got into trouble or whatever, I like her because like she's defiant all the time.
How she saved Jersey too. She went into
Yes.
the place full of argon gas without a suit.
Hmm.
That is badass. I mean, she was badly hurt, but
Yeah, but she cannot get killed apparently.
Ray, what was your if you have? I mean, if you have multiple favorite parts, you can mention. I have tons, but
Oh, look, the whole thing. Like I'm as highly recommending this that people need to listen to this. I mean, I listened to it while I was doing housework and stuff because it's an audio play. You can listen to it while you're doing other things. If you're doing some drudgery, put this on and it will keep your mind occupied while you get your work done, which is two birds one stone. But yeah, it had so many highlights. It's just it's a high quality product for something that was chopped up and handed out as part of an event to advertise something else. I'm just like,
Yep.
it's amazing. So
and
yeah,
they
I highly recommend listening to the whole thing. And I mean, I mentioned the coffee machine. Durga was a highlight. The way she just went for people like a guard dog was terrific. Yeah, the thing that drew me in was the scene where Janissary was doing the Mission Impossible through the Twyla base. And just so many cool things. I mean, even Kamal getting paid in poker chips by the by
That's more proof. He's just naive. Look how he got all freaking scammed.
oh my god. It's kind of funny when he meets Jersey. It's like, what you gonna pay me with? Because he's like, I paid you for
Poker
the lamp.
chips.
It's like poker chips. Yeah, sure. Let's go and get you 100,000 umbrellas, drinks, and oh my god, it's yeah. The whole thing is amazing. I just love it, and I have listened to this thing. Um, I actually downloaded the files because 42 Entertainment actually highly recommends that you copy and share. I had the files for a while, and it's only a couple of years before that I realized that someone copied the website, which I was really happy they did because it brings a little nostalgia when you look at the site. But I always had those files on my computer, and I listen to it. I want to say at least once a year because it's just so much fun. And I'm such a Halo fan. I mean, we see references even on the Halo TV show on
I have to watch it.
from what happens here. So yeah, this show is amazing. I'm really curious. The reason why I wanted to make an episode for our show on I Love Bees is because I felt like the story um, was given the shaft, and
Hmm.
it deserves to be told because it's really good. And every time I reach out to people and said, have you heard I Love Bees? Then the next question is like, what is that? And it's
well,
like,
the name has nothing to do with the audio play. I mean, it's completely, non sequitur until near the end where you go, oh, it's the name of the website that the part of the AI ended up in. Right. Okay. Gotcha. But otherwise, it's meaningless. So,
and I'm doing the same thing with this episode. When you download this episode, you'll notice the episode name will be ARG I Love Bees. And I'm not meant.
Parentheses Halo, so you know it's about Halo.
Oh no, I'm not putting Halo on the title at
Oh, so
all.
it's gonna
It
be
is
an
on
Easter egg.
it's on the description, but it's not on the title. So I'm gonna keep on the tradition of I Love Bees and not mention Halo in the title. So, but it's going back to what I was saying is it's to me is sad that as a Halo fan, and I read a couple of the books, this story needs to be told, and it's sad to me that like the big majority of people that I reach out to don't know what I Love Bees is, and I figure, let's talk about it because it deserves to be told. And I only hope, you know, maybe Paramount, you know, do a series. You don't have to do a whole TV show because obviously the story here is is limited. You know what
Yeah.
is happening in the story, but I'll be happy with a movie. If you don't want to be, if you want to, obviously a mini series will be really cool. But this is a story that since 2004, I always wished they would do a movie. Kind of like, back then. I don't know if you were on the same boat as I was, but I wanted a a movie about Halo,
Mm.
and I wanted a movie about I Love Bees, and I got excited many times since, back since the 2000s. We have gotten, you know Microsoft is doing a Halo movie, and there has been throughout the years trailers they have put in, and Microsoft has declined certain, and then we think, oh, it's going to happen again, and then they decline the other, and I've been really disappointed. That's why I'm so excited with the Halo TV show when Paramount decided to come in, and we have some other Halo movies that come through the years that I've also owned. I purchased all of those, but I Love Bees remains undone, and I only wish that someone could actually do it.
Oh, look, I think it's got legs. It's a very good story, and probably wouldn't take them a huge expense to make. It's set on a future Earth, so I mean they've got to make up sets and stuff that would reflect that. But certainly, you don't have full-on Spartans running around or anything like that. So the whole popularity thing might be a little bit hard to convince a studio because it's a side story, but it is a really good story. And I think they'd want to do a series rather than a movie because they'd have to cut it down so much that you'd lose a lot of the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would love to see Janissary having those quippy conversations with the coffee machine. That would just be so cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it would have to be at least I don't know if they'd rate it R, but some of the topics are quite adult, like the whole flash
Yes.
cloning and people being taken away and killed and turned into AIs and all this sort of stuff. So I think that the audience would be somewhat limited in the rating of the content.
Unless
So that
Paramount
might
gets it.
slow down.
If Paramount gets it, then they could do it because we see this in the Halo TV show.
What's the Halo TV show rated, by the way?
Paramount Plus is it's 343 Studios, and I have to
Yeah,
look,
but
but
what's the age rating? Is it
oh,
PG-13 or is it R? Because I don't think there's anything in between in the US, is there?
PG-13. No, I
it's
don't know.
PG-13.
No, I don't know. I just
Hold on a second. I can look it up real quick.
I haven't even watched
Um,
it.
yeah, but there's some scenes in there that are kind of strong. Um,
Yeah, they
uh,
are.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up here. Oh wow. I'm an IMDb. I think I had to go to Paramount to see it. I don't see the.
TV 14,
Oh, okay.
according to my Google foo.
Yeah.
So
So
basically, they're saying you need to be 14 years or older. So I mean, that's it. Uh, the strange thing about you watch the news and you see the Ukrainian conflict and all that sort of thing, and people are like, "Yeah, that's war. We're used to that." But if you the impact factor of war and fighting is far less than sex or psychological trauma or anything like that. So if you just have like a war movie, you can watch that on a Saturday afternoon. That's fine. People die and rah rah rah. But if you have any of these other things, oh no, it's got to be an R rating. You can't show that to kids. But war's fine. So I don't understand how that works in that they think war is so much less damaging to a psyche than these other things. It's just accepted, I guess. But I've had discussions with people about things sneaking through into PG-13 that seem like they shouldn't. And it depends on how the reviewers are feeling on the day, apparently. I guess there could be a little bit of an issue with some of the things in I Love Bees and what rating it might end up with, because obviously Oni aren't particularly nice guys. Personal liberties don't matter to them at all, because it's the survival of the human race we're talking about here. So got to break a few eggs to make omelets and rah rah rah. And you know how they explain it away.
Justification.
You know what they say? Don't break people's heart, break their bones. They have 106.
Yeah, the ends justify the means.
Oh man. Okay, so any final thoughts before we move on?
It's great. Listen to it. Do it now.
And play Halo 1 first.
Yeah, play Halo 1, listen to I Love Bees, and then play Halo 2.
Yeah.
And then you get the full experience. But if you're a lover of good sci-fi drama, this is good sci-fi drama. Well produced, well voiced, great storyline, and I really enjoyed it. So I think that most of our listeners should enjoy it too.
Awesome. Okay, so are we ready for the next segment?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Yep.
The science in sci-fi.
So you got to imagine that 500 years in the future, the story, most of the storyline, it is a little bit tricky in coming up with science that's involved with this. Now, obviously, the further back a sci-fi property is, the more likely it is to have impacted upon science, as in an instigator of ideas that then become reality. What I found interesting about I Love Bees was the chatter in the story. So obviously it's an integrated smartphone / iPad / computer / everything. It does everything basically. It's the ultimate convergent device.
You sound like a butcher now, slashing too much.
/ yes. But basically, it was sort of in the story, which was in 2004, probably written in 2003, was predicting the rise of the smartphone. Now, I did a little bit of Googling, as I often do, and discovered that actually the first smartphone, what they call a smartphone, like the precursor to the smartphone, was actually created by IBM. It was called the IBM Simon, and it was in 1992. It was the first phone that was able to do emails and various other. Now, in 1992, there was no internet.
Did you ever find out what Simon said?
He said whatever you did, I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But they were both Simons were available for purchase in 1994. But this particular article claims that the first true smartphone was the Apple iPhone in 2008. Well, 2007, and there's one right there as an example.
See my hand. I'm a hand model.
You are. So 2007 was the first Apple iPhone. We didn't get them down here till 2008. Obviously, worldwide release varies a little bit.
And this one has 8. I don't know if you can see it there.
8 gigabytes.
That's
look, my first computer in 1996, my first PC, it had 250 megabyte hard drive.
Wow.
That was a
lot. Put a Word document in there.
Huge.
Lots of Word documents and Excel sheets.
So yeah, these things just keep expanding year upon year. But obviously, 3 to 4 years before the first iPhone, the first true smartphone, they had a story about chatters, which basically functions in that capacity. So there you go. I don't know that I Love Bees, with its very limited release, as it were. I mean, you know, two out of three people on this podcast didn't know anything about it till a couple of weeks ago. But I don't know if that's indicative of the rest of the world. But I mean, it was predicting the rise of smartphones. We all now know that people are considered cyborgs because they never put their smartphone down. So it's become part of them. Yeah, I really thought that the way that they talked about the chatter and everything that it did, and if you turn it off, you just can't function in society anymore, was quite indicative of the situation we're finding ourselves now in 2022 with smartphone usage and smartphone addiction. And you know, doing it, I pay for groceries with my smartphone, so you know, it's just like that.
And you know, I want to venture to add to that. We might be going the way of the chatter. If you think about what Apple wants to do with their phones, where their idea, and I think it's been approved already in a couple of states here in the United States, where you can have your driver's license in there. We already have our uh, credit cards on them.
Yeah.
So it's going that direction, because if you notice in this Halo world, you pay with your phone, your license is on your phone. It's basically everything is on your phone. So I found that interesting.
Well, we have Service New South Wales app in Australia. That's it there. I don't know, that's probably too bright for you to see, but it has my driver's license in it. So I have my driver's license on my phone already.
Yeah. So
and that's Australia wide. You can do that. So yeah, don't have to carry a wallet around anymore. I can pay with my phone, and I have my driver's license on my phone. So it's all there. I better not lose my phone.
And the amazing thing that we could do with these phones, the most amazing thing is you could actually call someone.
Did they actually do that? I never
you
knew.
You don't have to just text. You can call someone.
now you're just being rude. Okay, so like I said, it was a little tricky for science behind science fiction for this one, but the other thing that I wanted to bring up was the actual ARG, the augmented reality game or alternate reality game for I Love Bees, which was the big thing back in 2004 related to the story that we've been talking about. But I thought it was really interesting that back in 2004 this was done, and it was before the smartphone, and people were running around to GPS coordinates at particular times to wait for phone calls from public phone booths to get codes and instructions to do missions to unlock the audio recordings. I mean, that was a huge worldwide thing that they were doing. It was amazing. And this was in 2004. And then we look at games like Ingress, which then spawned Pokemon Go, where people were all running around doing things together with their smartphones. So it combines the smartphone prediction and the ARG together to create things that we did quite recently with our technology. So I thought that was a good way to wrap it up.
Yeah, I find that to be really cool. Because now with the technology we have, you could do that. I remember GPS back then was expensive.
Yeah.
So, and the devices were huge.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny that we now take it for granted. Before we couldn't, even if you wanted to, it was expensive. So it's amazing that even through that barrier, the I Love Bees community was able to do all that. I mean, you have dedicated people, they had access to these devices, and they were like the dedicated beekeepers to translate the GPS locations for the rest of the beekeepers so they can go into their, their payphones to get the things. But it's really cool how, and I don't think we have seen something like to the level of I Love Bees since I Love Bees. I don't think I ever seen. I mean, there has been some things, but I don't think never to that point. That we got in I Love Bees.
The documentary for I Love Bees did reference geocaching. If the listeners don't know what geocaching is, basically people go around and embed USB sticks into walls and things like that in various locations, and then drop clues for people to go and hunt them down. And then you basically get your laptop or whatever, and you lift it up to the USB stick, and you plug it in, and then you download the data off the USB stick to then go onto a website and verify that you found it. So it's a bit like the I Love Bees ARG in that you have to work out the clues and work out where the thing is and find it, and then get the data and come back, and then there's this interaction between the people setting up the puzzle and those solving it, and multiple people can go and solve it, and it's sort of like a pastime. So it's sort of like an ARG, but not quite to the same extent as I Love Bees was.
Yeah. Okay, so this I am so curious. I mean, to our listeners out there, reach out to us and let us know if you knew about I Love Bees prior to the show, and what was
Or if
your
you were involved in it at the time. I want to hear stories of
yes
people going to payphones and getting all excited when the phone rang and stuff like that. Please let us know if you were involved in that. We'd love to hear some stories.
we're dying to talk about, and also I want to hear from people that did not know what this was, and you listen to the story. And remember, it's not like an audiobook, like where you have to spend like a week listening to an audio, 30-40 hours. This is only 6 hours, short of 6 hours runtime. So you could finish this technically in a day, or if you want to split it in 2 days. um I am really curious to hear from you. If you listen to this, what were your thoughts? And also, if you're a gamer like I am, if you love Halo like we do, um, have you listened to this prior to the game? And if not, what happens when you listen to this audio drama and play the game again? If it actually changes your perspective. But I'm so curious to talk to you guys via Discord or on Twitter. Just reach out to any of us and we can talk about this, because this is and you probably be in the same boat as I am, and I'll probably let Giancarlos and Ray give their opinion, because I might be partial to it because I was kind of part of it in 2004. But I wish a lot more people would knew about this story, because it's that good. Um, and it saddens me that every time I go around, even around this, even here with my co-host, the first time that I mentioned, uh, what was your answer? It's like, what is that?
The what now?
The what?
I Love Bees. Are you sure this is sci-fi? I Love Bees? What?
I remember that. And other comments that I have heard is like, is this is not hate? Is this related to Halo? This is bees. What is, and then they go to the site and it's like, this is a site about beekeeping. So yeah, it saddens me the story hasn't gotten the reach that it has gotten, considering there's a lot of people that were involved in the time. So I'm dying to find out from you guys and see what your experience has been with this short audio drama. Did you guys agree with my statement?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I wasn't there at the time. I'm not reminiscing quite the way you are, but I didn't go back and play Halo 2 again, but I was remembering the start of Halo 2 and how they end up in New Mombasa, and just thinking, well, yeah, there's this city, and lots of people lived here, and they've been obviously been evacuated to the air raid shelters. But there was people living in this city. What were they like? What were they doing? And the I Love Bees audio drama tells you what a group of these people were doing, at least in the US, not in Africa. But it really did give a grounded feeling of, this is Earth in the future. This is real people doing real people things and getting caught up in this galactic-wide threat.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So listen to it.
Awesome.
Best I
Awesome.
can say.
Okay, so this is gonna be the end of the show today, but yeah, like we've been saying, reach out to us. We're really curious to see what is your experience with this short audio drama. So until next time, bye.
Later.